Aloha everybody, welcome to the Holy Shit GwdF Flow show. My name is Tony Florial. Today I'm on the big island of Hawaii, and right across from me is Dr. Rob Rostau, and we're at Waimea Chiropractic. So Rob, thank you for coming on to the show.
Oh, you're welcome. Mahalo for being here, Tom.
Yeah, so one of the big things about the show is that I showcase people who I feel emanate the glow and the flow. So the first question I'm going to ask is, Rob, what do you feel the flow is to you? What does that mean?
What does that mean? That means, just letting it flow, letting it pour out. It's a state of being and a state of knowing, to me. And what I mean by that is we always have choices, that are coming in, choices on what to do and what to think and feel, and being in the flow is being present, being connected to the source, and just knowing what the right answers are, what the right path to follow is, Yeah, it's hard to describe, but it's for people who, everybody's experienced it, but, the more you experience it, the more it becomes clear and easy to follow and understand and describe, but I can't.
Right. So it's something that's not really logical. It happens just spontaneously. And how would you know, or how did you know you were in the flow? Was it because you all of a sudden were in the flow after that, and then it became obvious, or?
Yeah, in a sense, you can come in and out, right? It becomes more and less clear depending on where you're at in your state of conscious or vibration, but there's times where it's very obvious, very clear, especially looking back sometimes, right? Because it's just like, oh, whoa, holy smokes, how did all that stuff just happen to create that? Wow. That's sometimes when it becomes the most obvious.
So things click into place, almost without your involvement. Well, you're involved, but without your will, so to speak. It's like a guidance.
Yeah, guidance. Yeah. Just like one of the things in your possibility field becomes more glowing and vibrant, and boom, and then you take that step, and then the rest just falls into place. But yeah.
So one of the questions a lot of people ask is well, how do you know where to flow to? And I think you just answered that in regards to there's a glowing, radiant quality that happens that as you are present to life, things seem to appear and show up and become very obvious. So would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. Definitely, yeah. For instance, we had talked before about when I got into the healing profession, and back then when I had made the choice, for example, I had, should I go to massage or Western medicine, acupuncture, chiropractic? And as I was just being with that, and of course I was learning about it and doing some research, but when the decision finally came, and I was just being with it, and it was it's so obvious. Chiropractic, that's the way to go for now. And then everything lined up very quickly for me to take the steps to get into school, and to go through the program, and yeah, it was easy. That's the other thing about the flow, it's easy.
It's effortless.
And it's
ease.
It's right, you have a feeling of rightness,
So you had mentioned earlier about your first experience of the flow that you can recall as a child. Can you explain more about that?
Yeah, sure. So again, it was about 12 years old or so, and again, I don't remember the specifics, nor does it matter. But my mom had left me alone for a little while to go do something, maybe go to the store or something like that. It was the first time I can remember being alone, and so this sense of fear crept in. Oh no, what happens if somebody comes in and whatever, and as I was just in that state, this thing just came over me of just peace, you know, and love, and like, hey, you're taken care of, you're gonna be okay, you know, your mom will be back. Like, it was just a beautiful feeling, and that was the first time I can sense being in that, whatever, you know, call it flow, or connected to source, or just something bigger than me.
So at that point, you actually experienced the contrast, because right before you were very anxious, maybe nervous,
Right.
scared. There was a lot of fear, and then this presence of what people call grace had descended upon you.
Right.
And at that point, did you realize like this is really who I am, my true state?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that was that, and that's a great way to describe it. That was the first sense of that, you know. Yeah, this is, yeah, I didn't know as a kid, but like, yeah, this is something. What is this? This is pure. This is something bigger.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like what, and it takes a while, and the more experiences you have, you know, and we talk about Boyd, and we talk about a lot of things, but that sense of whatever, that biggerness, that higher self, that universe or whatever.
So it's one of the things I have described in my book, Holy Stretch, is that we have glimpses of light, where we have this holy shift, or we experience a state of holiness. And throughout life, we go in and out of consciousness. And the more we experience the state of the flow, the more we are more identified with that state. So you had mentioned about having a car accident. Was that something that really like made it like more of a identification for you of the flow and the healing powers of it?
Yeah, definitely. That was, you know, if anything, that was my holy shift, you know, like my awakening. And so just briefly, I had a pretty bad car accident, and, you know, broke a bunch of ribs, collarbone, collapsed the lung, was in the hospital for a few days, and I don't remember the accident. I was lost consciousness, and after that, it's bits and pieces. But basically, what happened after that was just an awakening. You know, it was just a disconnection, disattachment to whatever the old was. You know, because I was a musician, I was doing graphic design and computer repair and all that kind of stuff, and as well, you know, actually, the whole time, again, it's fuzzy, but it can be like that. Like, I was so connected the whole time in that healing process. And you start to come back out, and then you start to get back in your reality that you knew, and you're like, what the heck is this? You know? And then you start seeing new things, and I just had a knowing. I had that knowingness, you know, that I cannot do that anymore. And I was very called to becoming a healer, you know. And I didn't know, I had never considered that before, but then it just became so clear, you know. And like I said before, you know, I thought about all those options, but everything, once I made that choice, everything fell into place. You know, I moved to a different state, I got everything I needed, you know, really rapidly. And then ever since then, I was way more present to that state, to that flow. And like, you know, I could give hundreds of smaller examples, but that was the biggest shift, where I started being in it way more.
Okay. And how would you say, do you actually have a process or a practice to connect to source and get into that state, or is it something that just happens?
Both, really. You know, it is always happening, but more or less so all the time. And so there's tons of things you can do and practices you can do, from all kinds of spiritual practices and cultural practices. I've developed a lot of things for myself, you know, that will help, you know, to snap into that state, so to speak. But a lot of it is really, it's just, the more you do the practices, the more you don't need to, because it becomes instantaneous, you know.
Yeah.
All you really have to do is just feel your body, really, just like, boom, you're there, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. So it's really simple.
It's very simple, you know. I mean, sometimes it takes